Please stand and remain standing for the procession of graduates, the national anthem, and the OU chant.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Our chant goes on and on, thousands sing on heart and tongue in alma mater's praise, of campus beautiful by day and night, of colors proudly gleaming red and white, neath the western sky, OU's chant will never die. Live on, university. Thank you.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, OU faculty and staff, members of the OU family, distinguished guests and graduates, welcome to the OU-Tulsa Convocation ceremony. I'd like to thank the University of Tulsa, the City of Tulsa, Pipes and Drums, and Phil Armstrong for that inspiring open. I'm Dr. Jim Sluss, interim president of OU-Tulsa, and I'm very pleased to be your master of ceremonies this evening. As some of you may have already noticed, this graduation ceremony breaks some traditions. For example, video testimonials from our students on the big screen and modern music before the formal portion of the evening. That's very intentional for OU-Tulsa because OU-Tulsa is not a traditional place. Every one of our education and research programs are embedded in our communities to make those communities better and to teach our students in the real world. We are very proud of that. In keeping with being a little different than tradition, I only have one rule for you all tonight, that being, this is a celebration, so we need to show that. I want you to cheer and to clap as loud as you can whenever you want. So let's do a little practice. I'm going to read you a statement, and I want you all to cheer after I say it. So let's try this first one. Family and friends in the audience, how proud are you of your graduate tonight, many of whom had to overcome some difficult life experiences to get here. Let's try another one, just warming up. We have a number of first-generation college graduates, master's degree graduates, and doctoral graduates, as well as international students and military veterans on the floor tonight. Congratulations to you and your families for getting here. That is a special accomplishment for all of your family, and we congratulate you. Now, graduates, how thankful are you to your family and friends for being here for you, encouraging you, supporting you? Why don't you stand up, face your families, and show your appreciation? Everyone did a great job. I think we're going to get along just fine tonight. I would now like to introduce the folks sitting up here on this platform, some of the OU officials who've been so critical to you and to OU's march to excellence at each of its 3 campuses. Please hold your applause until the end. Now, starting on my left and your right, Dr. Julie Hoff, Dean of the Fran and Earl Ziegler College of Nursing. Dr. Jane Wilson, Dean of the College of Allied Health. OU Regent Anita Holloway. And on my right, your left, Jill Raines, Vice Provost of the OU Health Sciences Center. Dr. Andre Dennis Wright, Senior Vice President and Provost of the Norman Campus. Dr. David Robel, Dean of the Dodge Family College of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Stacy Reeder, Dean of the Janine Rainbolt College of Education. And on my left in the second row, Dr. David Surratt, Vice President of Student Affairs. Dr. Belinda Higgs Hypolite, Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Dr. Dale Bratzler, Interim Dean of the Hudson College of Public Health. Dr. John Clear, Dean of the Gallagher College of Engineering. And in the second row on my right, Dr. Carrie Serow, Senior Associate Dean of the College of Allied Health. Dr. Ken Randall, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs and Community Engagement for the College of Allied Health. Dr. Sherry Irvin, Senior Associate Dean of the Graduate College. Dr. Randall Hughes, Dean of the Graduate College. And in the third row on my left, Dr. Susan Tucker, Assistant Dean for Academic and Student Affairs in the College of Allied Health. Dr. Liz Carr, Associate Dean of the Graduate College. Josh Davis, Executive Director of OU-Tulsa Student Affairs. Dr. Emma Kentz, Interim Assistant Dean of Tulsa Programs for the Fran and Earl Ziegler College of Nursing. Dr. Jeffrey Cooper, Interim Assistant Dean for Finance and Administration for the Fran and Earl Ziegler College of Nursing. Dr. Melissa Kraft, Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs in the Fran and Earl Ziegler College of Nursing. Dr. Vicki Lake, Associate Dean in the Janine Rainbolt College of Education. Thank you all for your ongoing support of OU-Tulsa and our programs and students. Tonight, I'm honored to have one of OU's newest administrators as our speaker. Dr. Andre Dennis Wright serves as the Senior Vice President and Provost for the University of Oklahoma. From the moment I met him, I've been so impressed with his storytelling skills and understanding of our student body at OU-Tulsa. He is a true champion for OU-Tulsa, and I'm honored to work alongside him. I know that he will share a great message with all of us. In his role, Dr. Wright manages all academic initiatives of the OU Norman campus, including overseeing curricular standards and academic policies, faculty recruitment and development, institutional planning and budgeting, and resource and enrollment management. He's a microbiologist, and he received his MS and PhD degrees from the University of Guelph in Canada. He has served on review panels for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the National Science Foundation, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. He's also served as an external scientific reviewer for the governments of Canada, Kazakhstan, Scotland, and Switzerland. Here's a fun fact about Dr. Wright. He had a ciliated protozoan named after him, Apocoronopsis wrighti, in recognition of his contributions to microbiology. He's the first ever convocation speaker here at OU-Tulsa who's had a protozoan named after him. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Andre Dennis Wright.
The only problem is the protozoa causes diarrhea, so I hope my talk doesn't do the same. I'd like to thank President Sluss for this opportunity to speak at your graduation. Before I say anything else, I want to congratulate you, the 2022 graduates. You did it. I also want to thank your families, your loved ones, and your friends who have supported you. Thank you. For many of you and your families, this day marks the culmination of many years of sacrifice made because you recognize the importance of education. I am very proud and happy for all of you, and I praise your perseverance, your hard work, and your commitment even in the face of obstacles. I was a first-generation student and the first in my family to go to college. I was born and raised in a black community called Beachville, located 10 miles outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia in eastern Canada. The community was established in 1816 by black refugees from the War of 1812. My community still only has a population of 125 people, and it was built around a Baptist church near the edge of Lovett Lake, which is where I was baptized. I was raised by a single mom. My mom was strong and resilient and very strict. She was 5 feet tall, the tallest woman in the family. All my aunts were 4'8". I had one aunt, I called her Aunt Tiny. I didn't know what her name was until I was 20 years old, and it was Betty. My mom was one of 10 kids. She worked 2 jobs to pay the bills, and she was the matriarch of the family. She also took care of her elderly mother. As a kid, I would read the newspaper to my Nana every night. It wasn't until after she passed away when I was 12 years old that I found out that she couldn't read or write. Now it all made sense. Like all the kids in my community, I went to church every Sunday, sang in the church choir, and played sports. Because our community was located outside of the city limits, we did not have running water. We did not have indoor bathrooms or public transportation, and sometimes we did not have electricity, so I did homework by a kerosene lantern or by candle. We were very poor. I went to school with hard-boiled eggs for lunch, kidney and liver slices, cod and salmon chunks, and beef tongue sandwiches. For treat, I had bread pudding or rice and raisins with cinnamon and milk. None of my friends would trade food with me for lunch. And you know something? I still love those foods to this day. My wife will say to me, my 16-year-old daughter, "Dad, we have money now, we don't have to do that." But I really do enjoy it. Growing up, we did not have a car. I walked, rode, and biked everywhere I went. I was also thinner. As a kid, I was never allowed to have friends over to the house because we did not have a toilet or running water. My mom was so embarrassed that I was told never to speak of our living situation, which I didn't until 4 years ago. My mom, though, had a vision. She had a plan for me. Every day, she told me that I was going to university and that a good education would change my life. She knew. She also taught me the golden rule, to be respectful and to use my head, not my fists. I did say she was 5 feet tall and very strict, right? In 1969, I was 4 years old when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. I remembered listening to this historic broadcast on the radio with my mom. That same year, I started watching the original Star Trek series with Captain Kirk and Spock on black and white TV. As a kid, I would look up to the stars and dreamed about being an astronaut. When I was 10 years old and strong enough to lift an axe, I chopped wood and stacked piles for the long 7-month Canadian winter. I also had to carry buckets of water every day from the well to the house. Winters were bad because I had to chop through ice and then carry that water through 12 inches or 14 inches of snow back to the house to be heated up without spilling any. Every night, my mom would heat 2 large pots on the wood stove, and that was used to take baths. First I would go, and then my mom. That was normal until I was 17 years old. I didn't know anything different. When I was 17, the city extended water and sewage to my community. For the first time, I now had a faucet that worked, running water, and a workable toilet in the house. But we still did not have a car or transportation. When I was 15, I joined the Royal Canadian Air Cadets, and I spent many hours flying in gliders and single-engine airplanes and helicopters. In fact, I spent more time in airplanes when I was 17 before I even drove a car. After I graduated from high school, I joined the reserves and became an officer in the Canadian Air Force Cadet Instructors List. At that same time, I was a freshman at St. Mary's University in Halifax, majoring in mathematics. I loved math, but my real reason for going to college was because I dreamt of playing professional football. I believe that was my way out of my family's situation, so I could take care of my mom. By the time I was 19, though, I had 4 knee operations, and I have 2 screws in my right tibia. So my dream of playing professional football was gone. However, my cousin Tyrone Williams did go on to play for the Dallas Cowboys, winning 2 Super Bowls in 1992 and 1993. Thank you. I was proud of my cousin, but my mom was right. I needed a job, and I needed to get a good education that would get me out of the situation that we were in. So I buckled down and concentrated more on my studies. I was very determined to attend classes. In good weather, I rode my bike 11 miles each way to class, and in the winter, I hitchhiked back and forth. I also worked 2 jobs so I could buy a used 1991 Dodge Omni with no heater in the Canadian winter. At the end of my sophomore year, my mother suffered a serious back accident and required risky spinal surgery. That surgery today is now done laparoscopically, and it takes about 15 minutes. But back then, this was a risk, 50-50, that she would ever walk again. The surgery was successful, and after months of consultations with the doctors and explaining everything to my mom in a way that she could understand it, I realized that biology was easy for me, and that my passion now was helping people live healthy lives. So at the start of my junior year, I switched my major from math to biology, and my plan was to attend medical school. I had an amazing professor at St. Mary's University, Dr. David Cohn, who got me involved as an undergraduate researcher in his lab. He took me to my first conference, and I soon discovered that I loved doing research and looking for solutions to problems. After I graduated from my BS in biology, I applied to but did not get accepted into medical school. So I was advised by Dr. Cohn to pursue graduate studies at the University of Guelph, 45 minutes west of Toronto. At that time, I also retired as a captain from the Canadian Air Force, and I moved 1,200 miles to become a graduate student at Guelph, and it was also my first time living away from home. 2 years later, I published my first paper as a master's student. I couldn't stop going to the library and pulling the journal off the shelf and going to page 186 and seeing my name in print. After earning my master's degree, I worked at the Ontario Veterinary College, designing vaccines for chicken parasites. And then I started my PhD. As a graduate student, I was blessed with another amazing professor, Dr. Dennis Lin. He was my master and my PhD advisor who had a huge influence on my success as a scientist, but more importantly, my development as a person, as a teacher, as an advisor, as a mentor, and as a leader. Growing up, my mother constantly told me to grab every opportunity that came my way, learn something new every day, and add it to your toolbox. So after graduating with my PhD in 1998, I accepted an offer in Perth, Western Australia, where I worked as a postdoc fellow for the Australian government. I worked on vaccines to manipulate microorganisms in the gastrointestinal tract of sheep and cattle to make them more healthier and more productive. 4 years later, in 2002, I lost my mom to colorectal cancer. That was a very hard time for me because I was finally at a stage in my career that I could do and provide for her and give her the things that she never had. I felt empty and helpless, so after my mom's passing, I switched my research focus from animals to humans and used bacteria as biomarkers for the early diagnosis of colorectal cancer, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis. In 2003, I married my best friend, Milena, a financial planner with a degree in economics, and in 2005, we were blessed with a beautiful daughter named Montana. In 2009, we left Australia and we moved to the USA, where I was a professor and department chair of animal science at the University of Vermont for 5 years. In 2014, I moved to the University of Arizona, where I was director of biomedical sciences. For my family, we went from 7 months below 20 degrees to 7 months above 100 degrees. While in Tucson, I got reacquainted with beef tongue in the form of lingua tacos. From Arizona, I went to Washington State University, where I led a college of 1,200 faculty and staff and a budget of $200 million, because I was raised to always push myself and to take on new challenges, bigger challenges, and to make things better than how I found them. Last year, I was very fortunate to be hired as the provost of the University of Oklahoma Norman campus, and we moved to Norman 11 months ago. This sounds like a cliche, but I really do pinch myself, and I can't believe I'm here, and I can't believe I'm standing in front of you now sharing my story with you. If someone told me when I was growing up, chopping wood, carrying water to the house, using a hole in the ground as a toilet, that I would be the senior vice president and provost at the University of Oklahoma, I would have laughed, dismissed it as nonsensical, and I probably would have swore too. However, if my mother were still alive, she would have said, "I told you so." When I was 8 years old, there was an outdoor graduation ceremony in my hometown, Halifax, and all the professors were wearing their beautiful, colorful regalia. My mom squeezed my hand and said, "That'll be you one day." She was right. To our graduating class, I especially know the importance of having a caring support network. So thank you to all the family members, caregivers, friends, loved ones, and our compassionate professors and staff for all you do. Your support and encouragement matter more than you may realize. I credit my two professors, Dr. David Cohn and Dr. Dennis Lin, for encouraging me and for giving me unique experiences and opportunities to learn. This is something that is very important to me and something that I want to bring to our OU students. My journey has placed me squarely on the front lines of some of today's most pressing challenges. And although it feels like we have gone backwards over the past few years, as I look at this impressive group of graduates, I remain optimistic about the future. To our graduates, you are our future. Each one of you brings a unique perspective and key attributes to the workplace and to the world. I challenge each of you to use your education and your unique attributes and perspectives to effect positive change in a world that deeply needs it. The world needs you now more than ever. I remember what my mom told me and I'm passing this on to you now. You can achieve great things when you put your mind to it. Education is key. Never stop learning, and even under the most hurtful and challenging situations, use your education, never violence, to make your point. To the graduating class of 2022, I congratulate you again on this life-changing accomplishment. Go forth and change the world. Boomer. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost Wright. We appreciate your words of wisdom and your passion and your dedication to our great university. Several of our students here tonight have taken it upon themselves to make OU-Tulsa a better place through service in the OU-Tulsa Student Government Association. Those students are wearing white and red stoles with their regalia, so take note of that. And we greatly appreciate their service. At this time, I'd like to ask Provost Wright to come back to the podium, and also OU Health Sciences Center Vice Provost Jill Reynolds, as we begin the process of conferring degrees upon the students. Will the candidates for graduation from the University of Oklahoma's Tulsa campus please stand?
Mr. President, I have the honor to present candidates for graduation from the University of Oklahoma's Tulsa campus. They have been recommended by the faculty, and now I ask you to confer upon them their degrees.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates for graduation from the University of Oklahoma's Health Sciences Center programs in Tulsa. They have been recommended by the faculty, and I now ask that you confer upon them their degrees.
Thank you, Provost Wright and Vice Provost Reynolds. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. By the powers vested in me by the University of Oklahoma Board of Regents, the State Regents for Higher Education, and the laws and statutes of the state of Oklahoma, I confer upon you doctoral, graduate, and undergraduate degrees with all the rights, honors, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining to these degrees. Congratulations, graduates.
The following students will be receiving the degree Doctor of Physical Therapy. They will be hooded by Dr. Vince Lepak. Dr. Darian O'Keefe. Dr. Connor Marth. Dr. Stillman Brown. Dr. Paige Clement. Dr. Aziz Sabeti. Dr. Matteo Vincenzo Palmieri. Dr. Haley Chamberlain. Dr. Hartley Bowman. Dr. Hope Shreve. Dr. Taylor Upshaw. Dr. Kelsey Odell. Dr. Chloe Alyssa Palladino. Dr. Shi Ching Ong. Dr. Ashley Fritz. Dr. Cassidy Deason. Dr. Lauren Latta. Dr. Bailey Kemp. Dr. Courtney Plummer. Dr. Abigail Dudney. Dr. Morgan Cooper. The following student is receiving the degree Doctor of Science in Rehabilitation Sciences and will be hooded by Dr. Ken Randall. Dr. Carolyn Chima. The following student is also receiving the degree Doctor of Science in Rehabilitation Sciences and will be hooded by Dr. Lynn Jeffries. Dr. Ashley Elizabeth Efa. The following students will be receiving the degree Master of Occupational Therapy and will be hooded by Drs. Mary Isaacson and Jessica Tesouris. Juanita Hinckley. Sabrina Miles. Melanie Wagner. Alexandra Spear. Eleanor Amelia. Tyler Wilson. Cale Harrison. Mackenzie Teal. Ashton Wheeler Shelton. Mary Bromlow. Reagan Collins. Amberly Middleton. Brianna Boyer. Rhett Henderson. The following students are receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Medical Imaging and Radiation Sciences, Sonography. Jenna Wagner, with distinction. Brianna Lawrence. Grace Kelly Finnan. Emily Heiliger. Sundis Kino. With special distinction, Lydia Mayfield. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Urban Design and will be hooded by Sean Schaefer. Jeremy Baines. Camilla Coronado. Autumn Tiller. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Human Relations. They will be hooded by Dr. Brenda Lloyd-Jones. Sylvanus Amobi. Anna Dow. Latasha Buxton. Julia Parks. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Clinical Mental Health Counseling. They will be hooded by Dr. Chad Johnson. Catherine Sylvie Bates. Sarah Lynette. Rebecca Rogers. Taylor Fulbright. Leslie Maddox. Carrie Shaw. Elisa Robin West. Carolyn Kelly. Dylan Anderson. Desmond Eric Ketter. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Library and Information Studies. They will be hooded by Drs. Betsy Martin and Youngmi Kim. Jason Little. Jennifer Brumlett. Carly Mae Hughes. Rebecca Leedy. Barbie Benson. The following students will be receiving the degree Master of Arts in Organizational Dynamics. They will be hooded by Dr. Brigitte Steinheider. Ryan Lauerman. Leon Tong. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Public Administration. They will be hooded by Dr. Meg Myers-Morgan. Mark Lawson. Elizabeth Michelle Cahalan. Josie Pasco. Aubrey Weatherford. Michael Grout. Sandra Rickey. Brooke Randalls. Breton White Fox. Christina Marcotte. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Social Work and will be hooded by Dr. Julie. If you haven't guessed it, we have a few of these by Dr. Julie Miller-Cribbs. Candace Hughes. Sooner Van Hook. Loretta Peavy. Brandolyn Seaton. Tracy Lee. Kendra Brown. Chelsea Mason. Sarah Howe. Aaron Hearn. Holly Rearman. Tafina Cowan. Noe Candelario Rodriguez III. Jonisha Impati. Erica Stone DuBose. Brittany Graves. Carrie Parent Mojica. Shannon Terry. Tiffany Sayer. William Gordon. Sean Byrne. Summer Starr. Megan McNett Firestone. Antoinette Boswell Helgerson. Roberta Bobby Getman. Miranda Varner. Lonnie Cheryl Burns. Christopher Bashirs. Marissa Burks. Serena Newby. Melissa Collier. Caitlin Kemp. Ruth Chapman. Essie Siqueiros. Jessica Goodman. Ayana Blackie. Shayla Greenlee. Iris Vargas. Lacey Owens. Samantha Rangel Branscombe. Brittany Lynn Candioto. Don Yahola. Trenton Rabbit. Tommy Berry. Carla Cordero. Dyronda Wilder. Katie Tomjack. Giselle Fela Willis Cuautle. Keith Carpenter. Ruth Benson. Kelly Jane Huckleby. Kristen Blake. McKenna Zinn. Elisa Duell. Rachel Jenkins. Vanessa King. John Pinnock. William Lummis. Kazandra Lene Campbell Kuntz. Charlotte Cribbs. Mother-daughter, so we can get the awe effect going there. Catherine Hope Helm. Grace Newman. Michaela Alexis Hayes. Sydney Gould. Margaret Penny. Alyssa Bates. The following student is also receiving the degree of Master of Social Work and will be hooded by Dr. Lisa Byers. Megan Lowry. The following students will be receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Social Work. Allison Brooke Wignall. Jordan Irwin. Kimberly Spellman. Amber Searate. Barbara Horlock. With distinction, Krista Conway. Yvonne Duran Silva. Camille Wafer. The following students will be receiving the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Administration, Curriculum, and Supervision. They will be hooded by Dr. Daniel Hamlin. Dr. Tyler Mobra. The following student will be receiving the degree Doctor of Education and will be hooded by Dr. Daniel Hamlin. Robert Kaiser. Dr. Robert Kaiser. The following student will be receiving the degree Doctor of Education and will be hooded by Dr. Timothy Ford. Kiana Smith. Dr. Kiana Smith. Dr. Christopher Compton. The following students will be receiving the degree Master of Education. They will be hooded by Drs. Timothy Ford and Beverly Edwards. A popular duo. Rachel Erickson. Tara Harris. Ashley Poole. Elizabeth Christine Nordyke. Erica Davis. Nicholas Keynes. Teresa Asbury Jones. Paul Sunday. April Crew. Leslie Gore. Caleb Vaughn. Rex Idifex Burnett. Michael Singh. Mitchell Hahn. Justin Trujillo. The following students will be receiving the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Early Childhood Education. They will be hooded by Dr. Vicki Lake. Dr. Samantha Evans. Dr. Brandy Lee McCombs. The following students will be receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education. Anna Burris, with distinction. Maria Cook. Haley Scott. Jennifer Graham. With distinction, Abigail Sourjohn. Kristen Metzger. With special distinction, Jamie Burden. With distinction, April Elizabeth Roseburr. With distinction, Carissa Lovell. Ashley Boyd. Cynthia Lynn Osterhout. Autumn Finnenbach. Jessica Barbie. The following students are receiving the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical and Computer Engineering. They will be hooded by Dr. Hazem Rafai. Dr. Kairos Kuplicki. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering and will also be hooded by Dr. Hazem Rafai. Eloisa Chibuyo. Abdullah Muselli. The following students are receiving the degree Master of Science in Nursing. They will be hooded by Dr. Diana Weber. Tara Morgan. Rachel Young. Lauren Rachel Jeffus. Abelina Yolanda Garcia Dean. Dawn Buffington. Stephanie Ann Rucoy Wolf. Mary Peoples. Patricia Harwood. Jessica Lee. The following students will be receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Nursing. With distinction. With distinction, Blair Akerd. With special distinction, Carly Jefferson. With special distinction, Bethany Betru. With special distinction, Keith Bauman. Myra Villa. With distinction, Haley Bandy. Catherine Patrick Bliss. Shelley McGilbray. Kaylee Gilmore. With distinction, Brooklyn Chafin Schultz. With distinction, Megan Buff. Avery Wharton. Dominique Rodriguez. Catherine Lopez. With special distinction, Madison Jones. Macy Hamra. With distinction, Caitlin Platt. Vladimir Montilla. Aditola Adimodi. Apollonia Pina. With distinction, Valeria Thompson. Sarah Lewis. Michael Stewart. Sulisa Gonzalez. With distinction, Kimberly Gazelle Carrillo Rosales. With distinction, Alyssa Wan. With distinction, Holly Taylor. Matthew Stone. With special distinction, Dulce Kelly. With distinction, Sarah Hicks. With distinction, Cassidy Rushing. Megan Thomas. With special distinction, Sophia Williamson. With special distinction, Lauren Davison. With distinction, Paige Elizabeth Shackamel. With special distinction, Shiny Christian. With distinction, Alicia Perkins. With distinction, Bonnie Mitchell. With distinction, Kristen Gilbert. With distinction, Andre Chisholm. With distinction, Michelle Bickle. Rashonda Willis. With distinction, Caitlin Bugawison. With special distinction, Elena Lebowski. With distinction, Tiffany Sutton. With distinction, Amber Sherrill. With distinction, Gio Trinidad. With distinction, Jessica Turner. Ty Wallace. With special distinction, Morgan Reynolds. With distinction, Anna Dewan. With special distinction, Bailey Ray. Lauren Wagaman. Abigail Truman. Shannon Ellingson. With distinction, Casey Dickinson. Rebecca Hamilton. With distinction, Nicole Kaufmanova. With distinction, Tiffany Hamilton. With distinction, Whitney Ewing. Lydia Diggs. With distinction, Selene Hubbard. With distinction, Caitlin Hurst. Leah Bilbrey. With distinction, Taylor Acree. Mario Gonzalez. Mario Gonzalez, I'm betting. Sorry about that. Just a few names. Bryce Womack. Matthew Metzer. Edward Salcido. John Hoffman. With special distinction, Hayden Jones. Bethany McClain. Tuesday Holt. Uzoma Andrew Okorafor. Jessica Krieb. And last but not least, Batul Alsher.
Okay, continuing with our theme of being a little non-traditional tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a group photo. At this time, I'd like to ask all of the graduates to stand and look right above the backdrop behind me. You'll see our photographer magically appear, Jacoby. I hear the scissor lift. I know he's on his way. So I'm going to turn around and we're going to take two pictures. Right now, I'd like to ask Provost Wright, Vice Provost Reynolds, and Regent Holloway to join me for the first picture.
All right, guys, I'm going to give everyone a big countdown, okay? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. On 3, boomer sooner. 1, 2, 3. Good to go.
So we're going to ask the whole platform party to join us for the second picture.
Okay, I'm going to do a countdown again, okay, guys? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all. This has been a phenomenal evening for the University of Virginia. That was a Freudian slip, I guess. That's my alma mater. This has been a phenomenal evening for the University of Oklahoma. And the OU-Tulsa campus, and certainly for all our graduates whose achievements we celebrate. I want to thank each one of you, graduates, faculty, administrators, families, and friends. We salute all of you. And to all of our graduates, let me be the first to say, congratulations, graduates!